The first time I noticed him, I thought it was just my imagination. It was late in the evening, almost midnight, and I was sitting in the living room finishing some work on my laptop. Outside, the street was quiet. My neighborhood was the kind of place where nothing unusual ever really happened. Small houses, calm streets, the same neighbors I had seen for years. That's why the movement outside my window immediately caught my attention. At first, it was just a shadow. A figure standing across the street under the dim yellow streetlight. I didn't think much about it. People walk their dogs at night sometimes. Maybe someone was just passing by. But something about the way the person stood there felt strange. He wasn't moving, not walking, not looking at a phone, just standing there, facing my house. I looked up from my laptop again a minute later. He was still there. Same place, same posture, watching. A slight, uneasy feeling crept into my chest. Maybe he was waiting for someone, maybe a neighbor. I closed the curtains and tried to ignore it. But before going to bed, curiosity got the better of me. I pulled the curtain aside slightly and looked outside again. The streetlight still illuminated the same spot. But now the man was gone. The next day, I barely thought about it. Life continued as usual. Work in the morning, groceries in the evening, dinner while watching TV. Nothing unusual. Until the next night.
It was around the same time.
Just before midnight. I stood up to grab a glass of water from the kitchen when I glanced toward the window again. And my stomach tightened. The man was there again, standing in the exact same place, under the same streetlight, facing my house. This time I watched him more carefully. He wore a dark jacket and a cap pulled low over his face. I couldn't see his features clearly, but I could tell one thing for sure. He wasn't just passing by. He was watching. A cold feeling spread through my chest. I stepped closer to the window. The man didn't move, didn't look away. He just stood there. For several seconds we remained like that. Me inside the house, him across the street. Then suddenly he turned and walked away into the darkness. The next morning I tried to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe a coincidence. Maybe someone new had moved into the neighborhood. But deep down I knew something about the situation felt wrong. Then it happened again. The third night. This time I noticed him even earlier. Just after 11 p.m. Standing in the same place. Looking at the same house. My house. A strange tension filled the room. I turned off the lights in the living room so he wouldn't see me watching him. Then I carefully peeked through the curtain. The man remained perfectly still. Minutes passed.
5, 10,
15. He didn't move. He didn't leave. And the longer he stood there, the more uncomfortable I felt. Why would someone stand outside the same house every night? Finally, I grabbed my phone and took a photo through the window. The picture was blurry. The streetlight behind him made it hard to see his face. But the silhouette was clear. A tall man, dark jacket.
Capítulo.
Watching my house. That night, I barely slept. Every small sound outside made my heart race. The next morning, I checked the photo again. Still blurry. Still impossible to identify him. But now the situation felt real. Someone had been watching my house. Not once. Not twice. 3 nights in a row. I tried to ignore it. But by the 4th night, the anxiety had started to grow. I turned off the lights again and slowly looked through the curtain. The streetlight illuminated the empty sidewalk. For a moment, I felt relief. Maybe it was over. Maybe whoever it was had stopped coming. But just as I was about to close the curtain, a movement appeared from the corner of the street. The same dark figure stepped into the light again, standing in the exact same place, watching my house. My heart started pounding harder. This time I looked closer, trying to notice every detail. And that's when I realized something that made my stomach drop. The man wasn't just looking at my house. He was looking directly at my bedroom window, the same window where I slept every night. A cold wave of fear spread through my body. Without thinking, I grabbed my car keys. If he was watching me, I was going to find out why. I quietly opened the back door of my house, slipped outside, and walked toward my car. My plan was simple: drive around the block, come back from the other side of the street, and see who he really was. I started the engine and slowly turned the corner. My hands were shaking slightly on the steering wheel. 30 seconds later, I turned onto my street again. The streetlight came into view, but the man was gone. Completely gone.
No footsteps. No shadow.
No one walking away. Just an empty street. That was the moment I realized something even more unsettling. Whoever had been watching my house every night knew exactly when I left. I sat in the car for a moment, staring at the empty street. The man had disappeared too quickly.
There was nowhere he could have gone that fast.
No open gates. No cars driving away. Nothing. Just silence. My heart was still racing as I slowly parked the car back in front of my house. For the first time since I moved there, the place didn't feel safe anymore. Every shadow seemed darker. Every sound louder. I locked the door behind me and walked through the house, checking every window. Everything was closed. Everything looked normal. But the uneasy feeling in my chest refused to go away. The next morning, I barely slept. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized something important. If someone had been watching my house for 4 nights in a row, there had to be a reason. Later that afternoon, I decided to speak with my neighbor, Mr. Collins. He had lived across the street for more than 20 years. If anyone had noticed something unusual, it would be him. When I knocked on his door, he greeted me with his usual friendly smile.
Good afternoon, he said.
Everything all right? I wanted to ask you something, I said. Have you noticed anyone standing near the streetlight at night? Maybe someone watching my house. Mr. Collins looked confused.
No, he said.
I haven't seen anything like that. Then he paused. But to be honest, I go to bed pretty early. That answer didn't help much. I thanked him and walked back home. But something about the situation kept bothering me. That evening I decided to do something different. Instead of sitting in the living room, I turned off every light in the house and waited in the hallway near the front door. If the man returned, I wanted to see him clearly. The minutes passed slowly. 10 p.m. 11 p.m. The house remained quiet. Finally, just before midnight, I carefully looked through the curtain again. And there he was, standing under the streetlight, exactly where he had been every other night. The same dark jacket, the same cap, watching. But this time I didn't freeze. This time I grabbed my phone and dialed the police. While the phone rang, I kept my eyes on him. For several seconds, nothing changed. Then suddenly the man moved. He stepped forward, out of the shadow of the streetlight, and into the light. For the first time, I could finally see his face. My breath caught in my throat, because I recognized him immediately. It was Daniel, my ex-husband. We had divorced almost a year earlier. Our marriage had ended badly. Arguments, lawyers, months of silence after everything was finalized. I hadn't seen him since. And yet there he was, standing outside my house in the middle of the night, watching. The police operator answered on the phone. Emergency services. What is your situation? But before I could respond, something unexpected happened. Daniel looked directly toward the house. Not just toward the window, directly toward the front door, like he knew exactly where I was standing. Then he slowly raised his hand and waved. A calm, almost casual wave. My blood ran cold, because in that moment I realized something terrifying. He hadn't been secretly watching my house. He knew I was watching him, and he wanted me to see him there.